Just good to get a win for sure. We showed a lot of resilience, a lot of resolve to hang in there. I think we were down 10 maybe with like 5 left. So we've been on the losing side of a couple of those. So it's nice to be on the other side.
You said that you've been on the flip side, unfortunately, a couple times. You spoke, keep saying that you got to learn from this. What have you learned to put you in position that you're down 12 midway through the fourth and you still find a way?
Just a sense of urgency at that point in the game. You know, plays count as double, with 5 minutes left and under. So a lot of guys stepped up, made big plays, and it was just enough to get us to an overtime and then get us to another one and finish it out in 2. So
we were talking a little on the broadcast about how you and Tyler and Bam have sort of been in those moments before, but to see Kel'el and Nico closing with you guys and playing that way down the stretch, what does that show you about where those guys are at 20 and 21 years old?
Yeah, a lot of big plays by both of them. They have poise. They show that they can hang in and be tough in those moments and make big plays. So certainly wouldn't have won it without those guys for sure.
It's kind of a wild day from the outside perspective and the noise and so tells you they're not worried about that stuff. But when all that stuff happens and you try to come together as a team, how refreshing is it that you put it aside and you find a way to get away like this?
Very refreshing. Makes everything that's going on a lot more tolerable. Winning in a way cures everything. So just want to keep trying to put one foot in front of the other and keep winning games.
I always felt like, in one-on-one defense, I was solid. And I always feel like I can guard anybody, but, it's more I got to be concentrated on the help side, rebounding and those stuff. But, one-on-one, you just got to take a challenge. I think that's about it. It's, you cannot really practice defense. I think it's something you just got to go out and do it.
The lob to Kel'el.
Yeah.
Take us through it. Because that's a play you made off the dribble. So.
Yeah, I think I did it since we played together. It's simple, especially I think they had a Paul on him, so they were kind of in between, and I think you just can't be in between with Kel'el. He's the guy who you just gotta throw it out there somewhere. It doesn't need to be perfect, but he's gonna go up and catch it.
You've had a few of these games this year. Unfortunately, you've been on the other side of the equation where you battle back, you end up losing. To close it out, what does it show that you guys have learned from those experiences to find the way tonight?
I mean, it's important. We haven't played great basketball lately, and maybe we won a few games against teams below 500, but we really haven't shown that we can play against better teams, and I think today was really important just for us to see where we stand, and I feel like we showed people that we can battle. Maybe they're not the first team in the East, but they're playing good basketball this year, and they're healthy. They had the full lineup, so it was a great game for us, and it just shows that even though we might be younger right now, without our best player, we can still close our games.
You mentioned that this was a weird day with everything that came out early, and you guys are trying to prepare for a game, and all this stuff is being said, and trying to block out the noise. How tough is that, and how refreshing is it that you're able to find a way, despite everything that was talked about before the game and everything that was going on? Obviously,
I think it's pretty simple. I don't think it was hard. I don't think noise really bothers anybody. It's pretty simple. Our best player is not here right now, and I know he wants us to play good, even though he's not here, and that's just what we got to do. I don't think he bothered really any of us. We was locked in from the jump. Even though you guys see a lot of news, we're trying to avoid that. We just come out and play because even without him, we got to show that a few of us younger guys are worth playing.
Yeah, like you said, just so many times this season it feels like we've fought so hard and ended up on the short end of it. But just really happy with the way we continued to fight tonight. Through ups and downs, the big thing for us, a challenge for us is I think, going down in the game, being able to keep the mental energy and still have the grit and lack of focus to be able to continue to cut down the lead and fight back ultimately.
Tyler, Orlando spent a lot to open the game and down the stretch. They were trying to chase the matchup with you, and you were executing the show and recover. But how much of a luxury is it not to have Bam, who can defend a guy like Paolo, but him is also going through double screens, triple screens, and being able to recover and get back to it and protect you a little bit?
Yeah, that's a strength of ours now is having Bam playing the 4 where, he can roam around, like I said this morning, where he's running around, flying around, making plays. Obviously guarding one of the better, forwards on their team. But I think it's a luxury to have, Kel'el under the paint or under the rim protecting the paint while Bam's still on the floor. He's able to impact that end of the floor, in different ways, opposed to Bam being under the rim and having to protect the rim. So now it just makes our defense a lot more dynamic.
Tyler, obviously 5 guys tonight, 40-plus minutes, digging in, double OT win. One of the guys with the 40-plus minutes was Ware. Can you put in some words, obviously, in terms of how, obviously, the energy was exerted for this win tonight?
Yeah, it was an emotional game. The emotions were flying. Lots of ups and downs, and, at the end of the day, we just continued to fight, different guys stepping up, different guys making big shots, different guys making big plays. And I think that's what it takes, when we have a team like we do, and then also going up against a good defensive team. It takes different, actions and multiple actions to break down their defense. Not the first action is not always going to be open.
It was the first time you guys ran out Nico, Bam, and Kel'el together. Just wondering what you kind of like about that lineup.
I like that.
Kind of see the upside there.
I like that a lot. I like playing with bigger guys. Me being one of the smaller guys out there, I think that, helps a lot defensively, obviously. But also Nico's so versatile. He can dribble the ball. We can put him in different spots on the offensive end where he's either initiating offense or he's being a recipient of mine or Bam's attacks.
Just understanding that we always got a chance, man. That's the biggest thing. And being able to collectively be in that huddle and understanding that everybody in there is really trying to do the right thing and get the W.
Bam, what did you think of the unveiling of you, Nico, and Kel'el all together?
I feel like we should do it more often. I feel like it should be in the routine. Obviously, good things happen, and me and Nico can kind of play point in a sense, but also when we get in transition, man, you got 2 dudes going downhill, and then you have a lob threat, but also a 3-point shooter at this point. I'm not gonna gas him too much, but yeah, good win.
Bam, you touched on it a little bit last week, but how much are you enjoying having this guy behind you on defense, freeing you up to take on a guy like Paolo for so much of the game?
Understanding I can be versatile. It's a different look. Sometimes I might be the only big end, but obviously having him at the rim, he alters shots, block shots. So for us, it's that brings life into the guards where they know somebody's behind them, and if you get past them, just keep fighting because he's either gonna block it or alter the shot.
Kel'el, can you just kind of talk about your poor performance overall? Because I know you got those 2 early fouls. Did your mindset change defensively and not being too aggressive, or was it just sort of like you just got to go with it?
We talking about offense or defense? Defensively, I would say, it was more of a, you got to be more careful. I've accepted the fact that, I put my hands in there a lot, but, I just got to do better with that, so.
Yeah, Kel'el, to add on to that, obviously, quality minutes from you tonight, but where do you measure your confidence now at this point, especially in the game tonight?
I feel like I've always had the confidence. I just had to get the trust from, Coach Bo and, the team and the staff. So I feel like I got that a little bit. I showed I could shoot the ball a little bit and, just been able to play smarter. So.
Kel'el, with tie game with like 30 seconds left, Nico throws the ball into you, comes off that screen, and just throws it up top. Just what's going through your head there? It seemed like you were even pointing up the whole way. Nico's going downhill. Just what was going through your head on that play?
Wait, which one?
30 seconds to go up to. Nico just threw it up top. You
The one where you
caught it
behind the back.
Man, no, so he fouled me. Literally, I got fouled. So I tried to catch the ball and, go up with the foul, get the 2 free throws, get the game over with, but, yeah.
Bam, you were matched up with Paolo a lot of the game tonight. What did you just think of that matchup and being able to kind of get back into defending in those kinds of situations and those kinds of players? Is that almost reinvigorating for you a little bit?
It's definitely, like I said, it definitely gives us a different look because we have somebody that's 7 feet at the rim. So it allows me to be the versatile big, and obviously we've seen in the Olympics that it'll work. So for me, it's we keep this lineup going.
Bam, we know how important spacing is offensively to Spo with the way the game is played today. Obviously, both you guys can hit threes. How surprised have you been by how good Kel'el is as a three-point shooter? How helpful is that from an offensive standpoint with you guys playing together more?
I mean, not only the threes, but we're both lob threats. So he's in a pick and roll with Duncan or Tyler, and I'm in the corner. And my man becomes a low man. I cut, that's a lob, or he's going to get the lob. So it just adds a different dynamic. And obviously, if we're open at the three-point line, shoot it. You know, Spo has that much confidence in us. I mean, you've seen the guy shoot the ball enough to where you believe it's going in.
Bam, this might have been considered a tough day for some team. I'm sorry, once again, sir. I apologize. This might have been considered a tough day for some teams with all that's going on, and then the game when you are down 14 with 7 to go or whatever it was. What did you guys learn about yourselves tonight, or did you already kind of know it?
I mean, we've been in a lot of situations this past year, well, this year. So, I mean, it just shows that through all the noise, through all the chaos, we can still win. We can still come together and be a great team and you know, believe in one another and still go out there and compete. Because at the end of the day, like I said before, the game still got to get played no matter what's going on in the organization. We still got to play games, and they still expect us to win.
Well, especially down the stretch when you guys were both in, the lineup was playing so much through what Tyler and Duncan and their gravity on the perimeter. When the result is a lob, what are you watching for when they're catching the ball in terms of what the defense is overreacting to, and when do you know the lob is coming?
Whenever the ball is in there. I mean, I wait for the ball to go in there first, and I jump and go get it. So. Appreciate it.
If that ain't a rookie answer, I don't know what is.
Erik, it's obviously been a day, but to be 14 down in the fourth, when a lot of teams, you know, even in this NBA, sort of let it go, what can this night mean for you guys going forward?
I mean, what it means right now is just we prove to ourselves that we have a tremendous amount of grit, you know, and you've gained confidence from that. You know, last time we played Orlando was the same type of thing. We had to totally gut it out, and you know, there are so many inspiring defense plays down the stretch. You know, Bam is just a true definition of a two-way player, and you know, I understand you know what people are saying about you know his offense. It was great for him to have that moment where he had big offensive plays down the stretch, but we can't also forget you know how impactful he can be defensively in whatever coverage against you know 1 through 5. And he proved that tonight against, you know, 2 really difficult covers. You know, both those guys are downhill. Both those guys can, you know, Wagner just had 25 in the fourth quarter the other night. Herro, you know, has had 50, you know, in a game this year. He's bullying guys. He's just a tough cover. And then to have the energy, you know, to make those plays going down the stretch was big. You know, our young guys played really well. They had different moments where they played well, other times where it was a struggle, but you know that's what it is against Orlando. I think going through those experiences where you figure out a way to win, where it's not smooth sailing, I think is so important for a basketball team, and particularly a young team or a team that has young players. You know, I think that'll be you know something we can build on.
Bam had those post-ups at the end, but before that, so much of the offense with the 2 bigs on the floor was working for the threes and then working from the overreactions to the threes and getting downhill for the dunks. What role does Bam play in that part of the offense with the 2 bigs on in terms of setting Duncan and Tyler up and working the inside out?
Yeah, I mean, it gives us an opportunity to expand our menu a little bit. We can run more catch and shoots, get those guys on the run where it's not just pick and roll basketball. Bam also has the versatility that, you know, when Tyler was, you know, on the ball quite a bit, we were able to take him off the ball, and Bam could just be our point forward. You know, the double screens can open things up, but then also we want to get to the rim. It's not about threes. It's about, can we put rim pressure? Can we get, some overreactions, getting behind the defense or attacking, getting downhill. Those lobs were really important, and those were off of drives. Nico had a great one where he put his head down, got in there and got a lob to Kel'el. Obviously, Duncan had that other one. We've had a couple miscues, but Duncan's to Bam was a really big play when their switches were kind of, bottling us up a little bit, in that second half. We're working on it, and we're learning more, each day, and we'll get better.
Erik, first time all season you played Ware, Bam, Jović together. Had you seen that lineup much in practice? And what do you like about the size of those three together?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's the skill level. I mean, as long as and everybody is intentional about working on things and our spacing. Where's the ball going, and then how do we continue to maintain our spacing, and then taking the challenge on the other end. Nico did a good job defensively in the fourth quarter in the overtimes. And then, Kel'el and Bam have already been building this chemistry defensively. You talk about chemistry offensively, but that also can be a real thing defensively. And that's what we want. We want to make it really hard for teams to score easy buckets, in the paint, at the rim. And then, our offense, we think is it'll get better, as we spend more time together.
You mentioned before about the two big lineup, what it would lead to for Tyler as a shooter, but obviously you see the passing ability with the 12 assists, what that leads to when they're doubling, blitzing, all that stuff. What did you kind of see from the coverage he saw tonight and just how it's reacting with those type of...
Yeah, he saw every coverage, and he did every action. If we just would have worn him out on the ball, pick and rolls, I think he would have been really fatigued by the end. And that's why I say that versatility of having Bam being able to handle, run different actions, also just get Tyler off the ball in random, situations. That kind of loosened things up. His playmaking has gotten a lot better over the last 2-3 years. So now he's just doing it in a lot of different areas. It's not just pick and rolls. He's doing it off of catch and shoots or off of movement. And that's how to keep defenses honest. I mean, that's what happened with Bam late. If guys are open, Pat always says that one of the biggest fundamental offensive truths, if somebody's open, throw it to them. And they're switching, and Tyler has that ability just to make these quick passes while there's a window there, while they're trying to figure out the switch, and he can get some easy things, from that. But his passing has really, been an added bonus for us.
I think Bam held Paolo to just 2 points in that fourth quarter when you guys made that comeback. What did you think about his defense specifically in that stretch? And then is that sort of the vision now, being able to use him on like a wingish type of
Well, it could
player?
be anything, whatever's needed. The next game it could be a 5. Next game it could be switching, and he's guarding a dynamic point guard. Actually, we're going to face this the next game. I don't know what our scheme will be, but that's part of Bam's versatility. In the last 5 years in particular, he's literally done every scheme and guarded everybody in this league. We'll figure out how we want to maximize, this versatility defensively, which is different, but is as potentially impactful as any, kind of lineup we've had defensively.
Coach, I know you've spoken at length about Kel'el, but kind of getting those 2 early fouls and maybe having the mindset of not being too aggressive, but still being that presence in the paint that he is, and just
he's gonna have to continue to work on it. He's drilling on it with Malik every single day, getting his hands out of there. If he gets his hands in here, aggressive offensive players, try to get those cheap fouls, staying down on shot fakes. But for a young guy, he does a pretty good job of staying down on shot fakes. That second one was because Carter hit the first one on him, and just stay more disciplined with that. But he'll continue to work on it. He even did a couple switches, emergency switches, throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, and Spo, to add on to Ware, obviously quality minutes from him tonight, but his confidence though, where do you see that stands out to, especially down the stretch there, his confidence on the court?
Yeah, he's a very sure-minded individual. I've really enjoyed getting to know him. You know, he's surprised me in some ways. That's why I think, you know, when preparing for the draft, it's really hard to truly get to know somebody until they're in your building, in your system, day-to-day work. You know, he said his first year in college, he never said a word. That's not the case with us. You know, he's a very engaging guy, and he's highly intelligent. He's fun. He works. He's coachable, and he's getting better from all that. And I think he's enjoying this whole process.
Orlando was pretty deliberate at chasing the Tyler matchup for a lot of the key spots. I know, like an outside fan might see that as he's trying to dodge, you know, a matchup. But how much of a skill is it that Tyler has improved at that show to get out of those matchups, and then Bam obviously being able to recover to it and protect them?
That's another little nuance, right? That not a lot of bigs can fight through all those screens. I mean, I'll probably have to chart those. I mean, we can find out how many screens Bam had to get through tonight, you know, for a center. That's highly unusual, you know, to have that kind of skill set. I think he got caught one time, got stuck on a screen. But it's the same thing we're telling our guards all the time. Don't get stuck on screens. Don't die on screens. Get over, get through. It helps the rest of our defense. Don't leave it to the bigs. Well, Bam did it. He never, you know, laid on a screen, and you know, that's part of his versatility. But Tyler, what you're saying, like they've done it now enough that they can shift coverages, you know, depending, so it's not so predictable. Okay, thank you.